the most popular jetliner in history. How the world's favorite plane changed aviation forever.
Welcome, aviation enthusiasts, to a journey back in time to an era that redefined the very essence of air travel. Picture this, the 1960s. It was a decade of electrifying change, a time when the roar of jet engines was the soundtrack of progress. The world was shrinking, and the sky was no longer the limit, it was the new frontier. This was the jet age in full swing, a period of boundless optimism and audacious engineering. The Beatles were changing music, humanity was reaching for the moon, and on the ground, a revolution in the skies was quietly taking shape. At the heart of this revolution was Boeing, a company already riding high on a wave of unprecedented success. And the versatile 727, the tri-jet workhorse that could land on shorter runways. These planes were game-changers, connecting continents and major cities like never before. Boeing had tasted success, and they weren't about to stop. They had a vision, a forward-thinking ambition to not just participate in the future of aviation, but to build it. They saw the big picture, but they were about to think small in a very big way. While the 707s were majestically crossing oceans and the 727s were hopping between major domestic hubs, a new need was bubbling up from below. Airlines were starting to see a gap in the market. They had magnificent jets for the long hauls and reliable propeller planes for the short, regional routes. But what about the in-between? What about connecting smaller cities to the larger hubs with the speed and comfort of a jet? This was the emerging demand. A smaller, nimble, short-haul jet that could bring the jet experience to everyone, everywhere. The market was speaking, and it was asking for the next logical step in the evolution of flight. The whispers from the airline soon became a clear and unified chorus. They needed more than just a smaller plane. They needed a marvel of efficiency. Fuel was a significant cost, and turnaround times on the ground were critical. Every minute an aircraft sat at the gate was a minute it wasn't making money. So the call was for a jet that was not only fuel-sipping, but could also be prepared for its next flight in record time. On top of that, it had to be comfortable. The age of bumpy, noisy propeller flights was fading, and passengers now expected a smooth, quiet ride, even on a 1-hour trip. And above all, it had to be reliable. Airlines built their reputations on safety and on-time performance. They needed a workhorse, an aircraft that could fly multiple legs a day in and day out without a hitch. The request was simple in concept, but incredibly complex in execution. Build us a small, efficient, comfortable, and utterly dependable jet. And so, within the halls of Boeing, amidst the blueprints and the slide rules, a single powerful idea began to crystallize. It was an idea born from market demand, fueled by technological ambition, and guided by a deep understanding of what the future of air travel needed to be. No one could have known it at the time, but this concept, this vision for a baby Boeing wasn't just about filling a gap in the market. It was the seed of a legend. It was a calm, reflective moment before the storm of innovation, the quiet birth of an idea that would not just change aviation, but dominate it for generations to come. The stage was set for the creation of an icon, an aircraft that would become the best-selling commercial jetliner in history. This is the story of how that single, brilliant idea took flight. Thank you so much for joining us on this first chapter. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Today, we step into the heart of Boeing's legendary Renton plant, back to the early 1960s. This is Chapter 2, Sketches on the Drawing Board. Imagine the scene, a sprawling factory floor, the air buzzing with the energy of innovation. The successful Boeing 707 and the new 727 tri-jet are already reshaping air travel. But a new question is starting to form in the minds of Boeing's top engineers. What comes next? How can we bring the speed and comfort of jet travel to even more people on even shorter routes? The answer began not with a grand announcement, but with the quiet scratch of pencils on paper. In the design rooms of Seattle, a team of brilliant minds, led by visionaries like Joe Sutter, began to sketch out an idea. They envisioned an aircraft smaller, nimbler, and more efficient than its bigger siblings. The 727 was a marvel, but its 3 engines made it complex and costly for the short-haul market. The new plane had to be different. It needed to be a twin-jet, a crucial decision for cost-effectiveness. The early drawings show a plane with a familiar T-tail, much like the 727, with engines mounted on the rear fuselage. It was a safe, proven design, but was it the best design? This is where the story takes a revolutionary turn. The team started to question everything. Mounting engines on the tail added weight and complex structural requirements. It also made the cabin noisier for passengers in the back. Then came the breakthrough idea, the one that would define the 737 and change aviation forever. What if they moved the engines? Not to the tail, but under the wings. Today, this seems completely normal, but back then, it was radical. No twin-jet airliner had successfully done it. The wings on a short-haul jet were too low to the ground. How could you possibly fit an entire jet engine underneath without it scraping the runway? The challenge was immense, but the potential payoff was even greater. Placing engines under the wings would lighten the tail structure, simplify the wing design, and make engine maintenance on the ground significantly easier. It would also create a wider, more comfortable cabin, as the fuselage wouldn't need to be structurally reinforced to carry the engines. It was a puzzle that obsessed the design team. They worked tirelessly, sketching, calculating, and building models. The quiet excitement in those rooms was palpable. They weren't just designing another airplane. They were creating a new category of travel. They were on the verge of cracking the code. The solution was pure engineering genius. Instead of mounting the engines in traditional pods, hanging far below the wing on pylons, they decided to integrate them directly onto the underside of the wing. The engines were tucked in tight, almost flush with the leading edge. This innovative, compact design gave the 737 the ground clearance it needed, while reaping all the benefits of the underwing placement. It also gave the aircraft its iconic, slightly stocky look, a look that would soon become one of the most familiar sights in the sky. This decision was the single most important one in the 737's development, setting it apart from its competitors like the Douglas DC-9 and the BAC-111. With this core design principle locked in, the blueprints began to take final shape. The team decided to use the same upper fuselage cross-section as the 707 and 727. This was another masterstroke. It meant the 737 would offer 6 abreast seating, a significant comfort advantage over its 5 abreast rivals. It also streamlined production, allowing Boeing to use the same tooling and manufacturing processes they had perfected on their larger jets. This commonality was a key selling point for airlines already flying Boeing aircraft. The dream was becoming a reality, a small, efficient twin jet with the cabin feel of a much larger intercontinental airliner. The early sketches and wind tunnel models show a plane that is remarkably close to the 737-100 that would eventually roll out of the factory. There's the low-slung wing, the tightly integrated engines, and that wide, inviting cabin. Each line drawn on those blueprints represented a step closer to making jet travel truly accessible for everyone. It was no longer just for long-haul business travelers or the wealthy. This new plane, affectionately nicknamed the Fat Albert by some of its creators due to its wide fuselage and short length, was designed for the masses. It was built to connect smaller cities, to make weekend trips possible, to shrink the world just a little bit more. The atmosphere at Renton was one of controlled optimism. They knew they had something special. They were building on the legacy of the 707 and 727, but pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible for a short-haul jet. This was Boeing at its best, bold, innovative, and laser-focused on the needs of its airline customers and their passengers. The sketches on the drawing board were more than just technical diagrams. They were the first draft of a future where flying was no longer a luxury, but a common part of modern life. The foundation for the world's best-selling airliner had been laid, pencil stroke by pencil stroke, in the quiet design rooms of Seattle. In our next chapter, we'll see how these drawings leap off the page and into the real world. We'll cover the official launch of the 737 program, the fierce competition it faced, and the crucial first orders that turned this ambitious dream into a multi-billion-dollar reality. The journey of the 737 was just beginning, and the ride was about to get a whole lot more exciting. Thank you so much for watching and joining us on this deep dive into the history of the Boeing 737. If you're re-enjoying this series, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss Chapter 3. We love hearing from you, so leave a comment below with your thoughts or any 737 memories you might have. Until next time, fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Picture this. It's the mid-1960s. The jet age is in full swing, but smaller airlines need a new kind of aircraft, something efficient, reliable, and capable of operating from shorter runways. Boeing's answer was the 737, but the very first one, the Dash 100, was a different beast altogether. It was noticeably shorter than its successors, earning it affectionate nicknames like the Baby Boeing or the Floof, Fat Little Ugly Fella. But don't let the name fool you. This aircraft was a brilliant piece of engineering. Its defining feature was its compact design. With a fuselage just over 94 feet long, it was designed to carry around 85 to 100 passengers. This was a deliberate choice to compete with aircraft like the Douglas DC-9 and the Bake 111. To achieve this, Boeing's engineers did something ingenious. They used the same upper fuselage cross-section as their larger 707 and 727 jets. This not only sped up production but also created a surprisingly wide cabin for a short-haul jet, allowing for 6 abreast seating, a major selling point against its 5 abreast competitors. For passengers, this meant a more spacious and comfortable ride, something that wasn't a given back then. Now let's talk about what powered this little jet. The 737-100 was fitted with 2 Pratt & Whitney JT-D7 low-bypass turbofan engines. These were the workhorses of the era, but look closely at where they're mounted. They are tucked right under the wings, almost flush with the lower surface. This unique design choice had a massive impact. It kept the aircraft low to the ground, which made servicing and baggage handling incredibly easy without needing specialized ground equipment like air stairs or belt loaders. For airlines operating out of smaller, less equipped airports, this was a game changer. It reduced turnaround times and operational costs significantly. You could literally walk right up to the engine. This low-slung design became a signature feature of the entire 737 family for decades to come. However, this engine placement also presented challenges. The risk of foreign object debris, or FOD, being sucked into the engines was higher. This meant runways had to be kept meticulously clean. These early JT-8D engines were also, well, let's just say they were products of their time. They were much louder and less fuel efficient than the high bypass engines we see today. If you've ever heard an original 737 take off, it's a sound you don't forget, a powerful, unmistakable roar that defined an entire generation of jet travel. So who was brave enough to be the first to order this brand new unproven aircraft? You might think it was a major American carrier, but you'd be wrong. The launch customer for the Boeing 737 was none other than the German flag carrier, Lufthansa. This was a huge deal. It was the first time a non-American airline had been the launch customer for a Boeing jet. Lufthansa saw the potential of the 737-100 for its short-haul European routes. They placed an order for 21 aircraft in February 1965, but they had a specific request. They wanted the aircraft to be certified for a 2-person flight crew, eliminating the need for a flight engineer. This was a forward-thinking move that would set a new standard for efficiency in short-haul operations. Boeing agreed, and the modern 2-pilot cockpit in a jet of this size became a reality. With a key customer secured and the design finalized, it was time to build. The prototype, registered as N73700, rolled out of the factory in Renton, Washington, painted in a proud Boeing house livery. The anticipation was immense. The entire aviation world was watching to see if Boeing's bet on a twin-engine, short-haul jet would pay off. The day of truth finally arrived on April 9, 1967. The sky was clear over Seattle as test pilots Brian Weigel and Lou Wallach settled into the cockpit. The engine spooled up with that characteristic JT-8D whine, and the little jet accelerated down the runway at Boeing Field. At 1:15 p.m., the 737-100 lifted into the air for the very first time. The maiden flight was a success, lasting 2.5 hours, during which the pilots tested the aircraft's handling characteristics and systems. Weigel later described the plane as a delight to fly, praising its responsiveness and stability. This smooth first flight was a massive relief for Boeing and a promising sign for the program's future. The test flight program continued over the next several months, pushing the aircraft to its limits to ensure it met all safety and performance standards. It was an intense period of flying, data collection, and refinement. After receiving its type certification from the Federal Aviation Administration in December 1967, the first 737-100 was delivered to Lufthansa just a few days later. In February 1968, the airline officially put the baby Boeing into commercial service. Passengers were treated to a faster, more comfortable jet experience on routes previously served by slower propeller aircraft. The 737 had officially arrived on the scene. However, the story of the 737-100 itself is a short one. Only 30 of this original model were ever built. U.S. airlines were initially hesitant, preferring slightly larger aircraft. In fact, a request from another airline for a stretched version led to the creation of the 737-200, which we'll cover in our next chapter. The -200 would go on to be a massive commercial success and truly cement the 737's place in the market. So, while the 737-100 had a limited production run, its importance cannot be overstated. It was the genesis, the proof of concept. It introduced the core design philosophy, the 6-abreast cabin, the underwing engines, the 2-pilot cockpit that would define the most successful commercial aircraft family in history. Every single 737 flying today, from the Classic to the NG to the Max, carries the DNA of this short and sturdy pioneer. It was a modest start, a small seed planted back in the 1960s, but from it grew a global legend that would go on to connect the world. The little jet that could did. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the 737-100. It's a fascinating piece of aviation history that truly set the stage for everything that followed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss our next chapter on the legendary 737-200. We'd love to hear your thoughts or any memories you have of the classic 737s in the comments below. Until next time, fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. In our last chapter, the Boeing 737-100 took its first leap into the skies, a bold new contender in the short-haul market. But as with any great innovation, the world almost immediately started asking for more. More seats, more range, more capability. The airlines saw the potential, but they needed a version that could carry more passengers to make the economics truly sing. Boeing, always listening to its customers, was ready to answer the call. This is the story of how a good idea became a legendary one. This is the story of the Boeing 737-200. The ink was barely dry on the 737-100's blueprints when the demand for a bigger version began to swell. Airlines, particularly in the United States, were dealing with growing passenger numbers. They loved the concept of the 737, its efficiency, its 2-pilot cockpit, its commonality with the larger 727 and 707, but the initial 100 series was just a little too small for their burgeoning domestic routes. They needed an aircraft that could fit more paying customers, stretching the profitability of each flight. The message to Boeing was clear: we love it, but can you make it longer? This was exactly the feedback Boeing needed. They went back to the drawing board, not to reinvent the wheel, but to perfect it. The solution was elegant in its simplicity: a fuselage stretch. By adding 2 sections, one forward and one aft of the wing, they extended the 737's body by a crucial 6 feet. This seemingly small change had a massive impact. It allowed for up to 130 passengers in a single-class configuration, a significant increase from the 100's capacity. And so, in 1967, the Boeing 737-200 was born. It wasn't just longer. It was the aircraft the market was truly waiting for. The launch customer for this new extended version was United Airlines, a giant of the American skies. They saw the -200 as the perfect tool to modernize their fleet and expand their network. Their initial order signaled a massive vote of confidence, and where United went, others were sure to follow. The 737-200 wasn't just a plane. It was a business solution. It offered the right blend of capacity, efficiency, and flexibility that airlines craved. It could handle short, high-frequency routes between major hubs, but also had the legs for longer, cross-country flights. With the fuselage stretch came another critical improvement: range. The 737-200 could fly further than its shorter sibling, opening up a whole new world of city pairings. This enhanced capability made it incredibly attractive to carriers not just in the US, but around the globe. Soon, the order books were filling up. Iconic names like Delta Airlines, Western Airlines, and Piedmont Airlines in the US joined the growing list. Internationally, airlines from Europe, Asia, and South America saw the -200 as the key to unlocking their regional markets. The 737 was no longer just an American phenomenon. It was going global, and the -200 was leading the charge. Part of the 737-200's unmistakable character was its sound. The 737-200 also came with an unpaved strip kit option, a feature that made it incredibly versatile. This kit included modifications like a gravel deflector on the nose gear and protective shields for the flaps and landing lights. This allowed the aircraft to operate from remote, gravel, or unimproved runways in places like northern Canada and Alaska. Airlines like Veen Air Alaska and Canadian North relied on this rugged capability to connect isolated communities, proving the 737 wasn't just a city jet. It could be a lifeline, a tough, go-anywhere machine that brought the modern world to the most distant corners of the map. This versatility was a game-changer. The 737-200 wasn't just one airplane, it was many. It could be a high-density people mover shuttling business travelers between New York and Chicago. It could be a vacation starter, flying families to Florida. Or it could be a rugged bush plane, braving icy runways in the Arctic. This incredible adaptability is what cemented its place in the fleets of hundreds of airlines. From the flag carriers of major nations to small regional upstarts, the 737-200 fit the bill. It was the right plane at the right time for almost everyone. Over its long production run, Boeing continued to refine the design, introducing the 737-200 Advanced in 1971. This version brought more powerful engines, improved aerodynamics, and an even greater range. It further boosted the aircraft's performance and efficiency, keeping it competitive for decades. Production of the -200 series would continue all the way until 1988, with over 1,100 aircraft delivered. It massively outsold the original -100 and established the 737 as the dominant force in the single-aisle market. While the -100 introduced the concept, it was the 737-200 that truly made the 737 a household name. It was the plane that millions of people took their first flight on. Its distinctive shape, with those engines tucked right under the low wing, became an icon of the jet age. It democratized air travel, making it more affordable and accessible than ever before. For 2 decades, it was the backbone of domestic and regional aviation around the world. The comforting hum of its engines and the reliability of its service made it a trusted friend to both passengers and pilots. The legacy of the 737-200 is immense. It proved the fundamental brilliance of the 737 design and set the stage for all the incredible advancements to come. It was the aircraft that built empires for airlines and connected the world in a way that had never been done before. Join us in the next chapter as we explore how Boeing took this winning formula and evolved it into the next generation, creating the most successful commercial airliner in history. The story is just getting started. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying this series, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you in the next one. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of modern air travel, a place where metal takes flight and dreams become reality. This is Chapter 5, the Renton factory, the very heart of production. Nestled on the shores of Lake Washington, just outside Seattle, lies a facility that has shaped the skies for decades, Boeing's Renton factory. From the outside, it's a massive, sprawling complex. But step inside, and you're entering a different world, a city within a city. Alive with the constant, rhythmic hum of construction and innovation. This isn't just noise. It's the symphony of creation, the soundtrack to one of humanity's greatest achievements. For over 80 years, this ground has been sacred to aviation. It's where thousands of workers, day in and day out, have meticulously shaped aluminum, titanium, and composites into something more than just parts. They've been shaping dreams, the dream of connecting cities, cultures, and people across vast oceans and continents. Every rivet, every wire, every panel tells a story of human ingenuity and relentless ambition. What truly defines Renton isn't just the machinery or the scale of its operations. It's the people. We're talking about generations of families who have dedicated their lives to the craft of building airplanes. Think about that for a moment. Grandfathers who worked on the earliest jetliners, passing down their knowledge and passion to their children, who then taught their own children. These are not just jobs. They are legacies. engineers poring over complex blueprints, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Assemblers with decades of experience, whose hands know the feel of a perfectly fitted component by heart. Their shared dedication to precision is woven into the very fabric of every aircraft that rolls out of these doors. It's a culture of excellence, built on pride and a profound sense of responsibility. And at the epicenter of this bustling world is the legendary 737 assembly line. To witness it in motion is to see a marvel of industrial choreography. It's not just an assembly line. It's the heartbeat of aviation history. Imagine a moving production line, the only one of its kind for a commercial jetliner, where fuselages arrive by train from Wichita, Kansas, and begin a breathtaking transformation. Step by step, station by station, these green metal tubes evolve. Wings, meticulously crafted just down the line, are attached with incredible precision. The tail fin, standing tall like a monument, is hoisted into place. Inside, an intricate web of wiring, miles of it, is painstakingly installed, forming the aircraft's nervous system. The sheer scale is difficult to comprehend. Hundreds of suppliers from around the globe send their components here, all converging to create a single, unified machine. The logistics alone are a masterclass in planning. Yet, amidst this complexity, there is a clear, focused rhythm. Each team knows its role, performing their tasks with a practiced efficiency that borders on art. It's a dance of humans and machines, all working in perfect harmony towards a single goal: building the world's most popular commercial jetliner. The 737 itself is more than just an airplane. It's a phenomenon. Since its first flight in 1967, it has become the backbone of short and medium-haul travel worldwide. The reason for its enduring success lies in its continuous evolution, much of which has been driven right here in Renton. From the original -100 series to the game-changing next generation, and now to the 737 MAX, each iteration represents a leap forward in efficiency, safety, and passenger comfort. The engineers and designers in Renton have never stopped innovating. They've refined the aerodynamics, developed more fuel-efficient engines, and integrated state-of-the-art avionics. This relentless pursuit of improvement is what has kept the 737 at the forefront of the industry for over half a century. Walking through the factory, you can feel the weight of this history. You see mechanics referencing digital blueprints on tablets, working alongside machines that have been part of the process for years. It's a place where tradition meets technology. There's a palpable sense of pride among the workers. They aren't just building a product, they are continuing a legacy. They'll point to a plane on the line and say, "I installed the landing gear on that one," or "My team worked on the wing-to-body join." They understand that their work connects the world, enabling family reunions, business deals, and life-changing adventures for millions of people every single day. But the story of Renton is also a story of resilience. The aviation industry is notoriously cyclical, facing economic downturns, global crises, and intense competition. The Renton factory has weathered all these storms. It has adapted, retooled, and reinvented itself time and time again. This resilience comes from the spirit of its people, a community bound together by a shared purpose. When challenges arise, they come together, innovate, and find a way forward. That spirit is the true engine of the Renton factory. It's the unwavering belief that no matter the obstacle, they can and will continue to build the future of flight. The final assembly is a moment of pure magic. The engines are mounted, the interiors are fitted out with seats and galleys, and the iconic Boeing livery is applied. The aircraft, now looking complete, undergoes a battery of rigorous tests. Every system is checked, rechecked, and triple-checked. Safety is not just a priority, it's an obsession. Only when it has passed every single inspection is it ready to leave the factory. Seeing a brand new 737 roll out onto the flight line for the first time is an emotional experience, even for the veterans who have seen it thousands of times. It represents the culmination of millions of hours of labor, countless innovations, and the collective passion of an entire community. It's no longer just a collection of parts. It's a living, breathing machine, ready to fulfill its purpose. From the shores of Lake Washington, these magnificent birds take to the sky, destined for airlines in every corner of the globe. Each takeoff is a testament to the work done here in Renton. It's a promise kept, a promise of safety, reliability, and connection. The constant hum of the factory is more than just the sound of production. It's the sound of progress, the sound of a dream being built, over and over again. This is the enduring legacy of the Renton factory, the heart of production and the soul of modern aviation. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the Renton factory. If you found this journey as fascinating as I did, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter in our series. See you next time. Welcome back to our journey through the skies. We've reached Chapter 6 in the epic story of the Boeing 737, and this is where the little jet truly conquered the world. We're talking about global expansion and the unwavering loyalty it inspired in airlines big and small. By the late 1960s and early 70s, the initial teething problems were a distant memory. The 737 was hitting its stride, and the world was taking notice. It wasn't just a North American phenomenon anymore. The order books at Boeing began to look like a United Nations roster. From the bustling hubs of Europe to the growing cities of Asia, from the vast landscapes of Australia to the dynamic markets of South America and Africa, airlines on every single continent were placing orders. What was the secret to this universal appeal? It was the 737's incredible adaptability. Think about the sheer range of environments an airplane has to operate in. One day, it might be taking off from a steamy, humid runway in Bangkok, where the air is thin and lift is harder to generate. The very next, it could be landing on a frozen, icy tarmac in Anchorage, Alaska, where cold soaking of components is a real concern. The 737 was engineered to handle it all. Its powerful engines and robust systems were just as reliable in the sweltering heat of the tropics as they were in the biting cold of the Arctic. This all-weather, all-condition capability made it a safe bet for any airline, anywhere on the globe. It wasn't just a plane. It was a dependable tool that could generate revenue year-round, regardless of the climate. Now, let's talk about a revolution that the 737 didn't just witness, but actively fueled: the rise of the budget airline. In the 1970s, a new breed of carrier emerged. Think of pioneers like Southwest Airlines in the US. Their business model was radical: cut the frills, keep fares incredibly low, and fly short, frequent routes between secondary airports. To make this work, they needed one thing above all else: an efficient, reliable, and economical aircraft. They needed a workhorse. And they found it in the Boeing 737. The 737 was perfect for the job. It was fuel efficient enough to make those low fares profitable. Its quick turnaround times, the ability to land, deplane, clean, refuel, board, and take off again in record time, were legendary. For a low-cost carrier, time on the ground is money lost. The 737 minimized that downtime, allowing airlines to maximize the number of flights per day for each aircraft. Southwest Airlines famously built its entire, massively successful operation around a single fleet type, the 737. This streamlined everything: maintenance, spare parts inventory, and most importantly, pilot and crew training. Every pilot could fly every plane in the fleet. This one-size-fits-all strategy, enabled by the 737, became the gold standard for budget airlines worldwide. Ryanair, EasyJet, and countless others would follow this model, bringing air travel to the masses, all powered by the dependable 737. This reliability wasn't just appreciated by the accountants in the boardroom. It was deeply felt by the people at the sharp end in the cockpit. Pilots developed a genuine affection for the aircraft. They knew its quirks, understood its systems, and trusted it implicitly. It wasn't a complex, temperamental machine. It was straightforward and honest. It did what you asked of it, every single time. This earned it a nickname that speaks volumes about the relationship between pilot and plane. They called it the faithful friend. It was the companion you could count on to get you and your passengers home safely, day in and day out, through thunderstorms, crosswinds, and whatever else the skies threw at you. With this combination of global reach, operational toughness, economic efficiency, and pilot confidence, the 737's destiny was sealed. It became the undisputed king of short and medium-haul routes. If you were flying for less than 4 hours, anywhere in the world, the odds were overwhelmingly high that you were flying on a 737. It was the plane that connected smaller cities to major hubs. It was the plane that took families on their first vacation abroad. It was the backbone of domestic and regional air travel on a global scale. Other planes came and went, but the 737 endured. Airlines loved it because it was a moneymaker. Passengers, even if they didn't know its name, loved it for the affordable and accessible travel it provided. And pilots loved it because it was a joy to fly, a true and faithful friend. The 737 wasn't just an airplane anymore. It had become an institution, woven into the very fabric of modern life and global connectivity. It was, and in many ways still is, the world's go-to jet. Thank you so much for joining me for this chapter. The story of the 737 is far from over, and in our next episode, we will explore how Boeing kept its star player at the top of its game for decades to come. If you're enjoying this series, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us continue to bring these stories to you. We'll see you in the next one. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Today, we're diving into Chapter 7, a pivotal era that reshaped the skies. The rise of the Boeing 737 Classic Series. Fasten your seatbelts, because we're heading straight into the 1980s. A decade of incredible innovation and change. After the initial success of the 737-100-200, Boeing faced a new challenge. The world was changing, technology was advancing at a breakneck pace, and airlines were demanding more efficiency, more capacity, and more comfort for their passengers. The competition was fierce, with new players entering the market. Boeing knew they couldn't just rest on their laurels. They had to evolve. Their answer? The 737 Classic Series, comprising the -300, -400, and -500 models. This wasn't just a simple update. It was a fundamental redesign that would set the standard for short to medium-haul travel for decades to come. The heart of this new series was a revolutionary engine, the CFM56. This high-bypass turbofan engine was a game-changer. Developed by a joint venture between GE Aviation in the US and Safran Aircraft Engines in France, the CFM56 was significantly quieter and vastly more fuel-efficient than the older Pratt and Whitney JT8D engines used on the original 737s. This single innovation addressed two of the biggest concerns of the era: rising fuel costs and increasing environmental noise regulations around airports. The new engines were so large, however, that they couldn't be mounted directly under the wing like before. Boeing's engineers came up with a clever solution. They mounted the engines forward of the wing and flattened the bottom of the engine nacelle, giving the Classic Series its distinctive hamster pouch look. This ingenious design maintained the 737's low ground clearance, which was a favorite feature for ground crews, while accommodating the powerful new technology. But the innovation didn't stop with the engines. Step inside the cockpit of a 737 Classic, and you'd be entering a new world. Gone were the walls of steam gauge dials. In their place was the glass cockpit. The Classic Series was one of the first narrow-body airliners to incorporate electronic flight instrument systems, or EFIS. This meant that crucial flight information attitude, airspeed, altitude, and navigation data was now displayed on clear, bright computer screens. This dramatically reduced pilot workload, improved situational awareness, and made flying safer and more precise than ever before. It was a leap from the analog age into the digital future, and it fundamentally changed how pilots interacted with their aircraft. The airframe itself also received a major facelift. Boeing's aerodynamicists went to work refining the wing's design. They extended the wingtips and altered the leading-edge slats and trailing-edge flaps. These changes weren't just for show. They significantly improved the aircraft's aerodynamic efficiency. This meant the plane could fly further, carry more weight, and perform better during takeoff and landing, all while burning less fuel. The result was an aircraft that was not only cheaper to operate, but also more capable, opening up new routes that were previously not viable for the 737. It was a perfect trifecta. New engines, a new cockpit, and a new wing, all working in harmony. The first member of this new family to take to the skies was the 737-300. Making its first flight in 1984, the -300 was a stretched version of the 737-200, typically seating around 149 passengers. Airlines immediately fell in love with it. It hit the sweet spot of capacity, range, and operating cost. It was reliable, efficient, and versatile, capable of operating everything from short domestic hops to longer cross-country routes. The 737-300 quickly became the workhorse of the skies for airlines all over the globe, from major carriers in the United States and Europe to emerging airlines in Asia and South America. It was the plane that truly solidified the 737's reputation as the world's best-selling airliner. For a generation of travelers, the silhouette of the 737-300 became synonymous with air travel itself. The success of the -300 naturally led to demand for variations. Airlines that needed more capacity for their busier routes looked to Boeing for a solution, and the answer was the 737-400. First flying in 1988, the -400 was a further stretch of the fuselage, adding about 10 feet to the -300 feet seconds length. This allowed it to carry up to 188 passengers in a single-class configuration. The -400 was an immediate hit, particularly with charter airlines and major carriers operating high-density routes like the U.S. East Coast shuttles. To handle the increased weight and length, Boeing strengthened the wing and landing gear and added a tail skid to protect the rear fuselage during takeoff rotations. It was a perfect example of Boeing's philosophy: listen to the customer and adapt the platform to meet their needs. But what about the other end of the spectrum? While some airlines wanted bigger planes, others wanted a modern, efficient replacement for their aging 737-200s. They loved the 200's ability to operate on shorter runways and serve smaller markets, but they wanted the advanced technology and fuel efficiency of the classic series. And so, the 737-500 was born. Essentially a new generation version of the 200's fuselage. Combined with the advanced wings, engines, and glass cockpit of the -300, the -500 offered the best of both worlds. It first flew in 1989 and provided airlines with a state-of-the-art aircraft for their lower-density routes. It allowed carriers to maintain a common fleet type, which simplified maintenance, crew training, and scheduling, creating massive operational efficiencies. The three models, the 300, 400, and 500, gave airlines an unprecedented level of flexibility. They could tailor their fleet perfectly to their route network, all while benefiting from the commonality of the 737 platform. For the passengers inside, the Classic series represented a huge leap in comfort. Those new CFM56 engines weren't just efficient. They were remarkably quiet. The loud, roaring takeoffs of the older jets were replaced by a much more gentle and less intrusive hum. The interior cabins were redesigned with more modern styling, improved lighting, and larger overhead bins. The combination of a quieter cabin and smoother flight, thanks to the improved aerodynamics, meant that passengers were enjoying a far more peaceful and relaxing travel experience. Flying on a 737 Classic felt modern, comfortable, and safe. It helped to democratize air travel even further, making it a more pleasant and accessible experience for millions of people around the world. The legacy of the 737 Classic series is immense. With over 2,000 aircraft delivered across all three variants, they became a ubiquitous sight at airports worldwide. They defined what modern short-haul air travel looked like for an entire generation. They proved that a successful design could be continually updated with new technology to stay relevant and competitive. The lessons learned from the Classic series, the importance of fuel efficiency, the benefits of a glass cockpit, and the value of a family of aircraft, would directly inform the development of the next generation of 737s and indeed the entire commercial aviation industry. The Classics were the bridge between the pioneering jets of the 60s and 70s and the highly advanced, digitally integrated aircraft we fly on today. They weren't just an update. They were a revolution that kept the 737 at the very top of the aviation world. Thank you so much for joining us on this flight back to the 1980s. 737 Classic story is a testament to brilliant engineering and listening to the market. If you enjoyed this chapter, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next episode, where we'll explore the next generation of the 737. Until then, fly safe. In the world of aviation, some aircraft are more than just machines. They become legends woven into the fabric of pilots' lives. The Boeing 737 is one such icon. For decades, it has been the workhorse of the skies, a familiar sight at airports worldwide. But to the men and women in the cockpit, it's something more personal. It's a partner, a trusted friend, and a machine with a soul. Today, we peeling back the layers of metal and wire to explore the spirit of flight through the eyes of the pilots who know the 737 best. What is it about this particular plane that fosters such a deep connection? We spoke with several veteran pilots, individuals who have spent tens of thousands of hours in the 737's cockpit. And a common theme emerged: reliability. One captain, with over 30 years of flying the 737, put it simply, you knew it would get you home. Every single time. Through thunderstorms, icy conditions, or a tricky crosswind landing, that plane was built like a tank. It gave you a profound sense of confidence. You weren't just operating a machine. You were working with it. This sentiment was echoed by many. The 737's dependable performance, flight after flight, year after year, built a foundation of trust that is rare between human and machine. It wasn't just about the engineering. It was about the shared experience of safely navigating the globe, a silent promise kept on every journey. Beyond its reliability, pilots often talk about the 737's distinctive feel. In an era of increasing automation, where fly-by-wire systems can sometimes create a sense of detachment, the classic 737 models were praised for their directness. A first officer explained it to us this way: "It's an airplane that talks back." What does that mean? It means the aircraft communicates through the controls. The yoke, the rudder pedals, they weren't just inputs. They provided feedback. You could feel the air moving over the wings. You could sense the aircraft's energy. Another pilot described it as an honest airplane. If you were flying it well, it felt smooth and responsive. If you were getting a little sloppy, it would let you know. This tactile feedback loop created an intimate dialogue between the pilot and the plane. You weren't just telling it what to do. You were listening to what it needed. This constant conversation made flying less of a procedure and more of an art form, a dance performed at 35,000 feet. This hands-on nature also extended to the training. For generations of aviators, the 737 was the aircraft where they truly earned their stripes. The systems were logical, the cockpit layout was intuitive, and the flight characteristics were straightforward. This didn't mean it was easy to fly, but rather that it was a fantastic teacher. The training philosophy was built on fundamental airmanship. You learned to fly the airplane first and manage the system second. This simplicity bred competence and confidence. When a new pilot transitioned to the 737, they weren't just learning a new type rating. They were joining a community of aviators who shared a common language and a common understanding of what it meant to be in command. This shared foundation created a powerful bond, not just with the aircraft, but among the pilots themselves. They knew that any other 737 pilot had gone through the same rigorous, hands-on training, building a silent, unspoken trust across the entire community. When you spend a significant portion of your life inside a specific machine, sharing sunrises, navigating storms, and bringing thousands of people safely to their destinations, an emotional bond is almost inevitable. It's a relationship forged in responsibility and shared experience. Many pilots refer to their 737 with a sense of affection, almost as if it were a living entity. We heard stories of pilots patting the fuselage on their final flight, a quiet thank you for years of faithful service. One retired captain shared, "On my last takeoff, I remember looking around the cockpit at every switch and gauge I knew so well. It wasn't just a workplace. It was a part of me. That plane had been with me through major life events, the birth of my children, the loss of parents. It was a constant. Saying goodbye felt like leaving a part of my own story behind." This connection goes beyond mere nostalgia. It speaks to a profound partnership, a symbiosis where the pilot's skill and the aircraft's strength combine to achieve something extraordinary, the miracle of flight. The 737 wasn't just a tool. For many, it was a companion on life's journey. The legacy of the 737, therefore, isn't just written in logbooks and production numbers. It's written in the memories and hearts of the pilots who flew it. They describe a machine that was challenging yet forgiving, complex yet logical, powerful yet responsive. It was an aircraft that demanded respect but returned it with unwavering reliability. The spirit of flight isn't just about soaring through the clouds. It's about the trust, the dialogue, and the deep, personal connection that can form between a pilot and their plane. The story of the Boeing 737 is inseparable from the stories of the thousands of aviators who sat in its cockpit, listened to what it had to say, and guided it safely through the sky. It's a testament to a timeless partnership between human and machine, a bond that truly defines the spirit of aviation. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the cockpit. If you enjoyed hearing these stories, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more content that explores the fascinating world of aviation. We'd love to hear your own thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Fly safe, and we'll see you next time. Welcome back to our series. Tonight, we're diving into Chapter 9, Maintenance and Mechanics. We've talked about the pilots, the passengers, the groundbreaking flights. But what happens when the engines go quiet and the cabin lights dim for the night? That's when another story begins, one told in cavernous hangars under the steady glow of work lights. This is the story of the unseen heroes on the ground. The real genius of this aircraft isn't just in how it flies, but in how it comes apart and goes back together. We're talking about its modular design. Think of it like high-tech building blocks. Engines, landing gear, avionics panels, they were all designed to be swapped out quickly and efficiently. This was a revolutionary concept. It meant an engine could be replaced in a matter of hours, not days. For an airline, where every minute on the ground is money lost, this was a game changer. This design philosophy wasn't just about speed. It was about global accessibility. Whether a plane was in Singapore, London, or Dallas, the parts were standardized. A technician in one corner of the world could follow the same procedures as a technician on the opposite side. This created a universal language of maintenance, ensuring that no matter where the aircraft flew, it could be serviced to the exact same high standard. This global network of expertise is the safety net that catches us all, every single flight. Let's step into that hangar for a moment. The air is cool, filled with the faint scent of hydraulic fluid and jet fuel. The daytime chaos of the airport has faded to a distant hum. Here, under the stark, bright lights, teams of dedicated mechanics and technicians swarm over the aircraft. They are the guardians of our safety, working through the night, meticulously checking every system, every bolt, every wire. Their hands, often unseen by the traveling public, are the very hands that ensure a safe journey. Each night is a symphony of coordinated effort. One team might be inspecting the turbine blades of an engine, searching for microscopic cracks that are invisible to the naked eye. Another could be deep within the electronics bay, running diagnostics on the complex web of computers that control the aircraft. Others are on their backs, checking the landing gear, ensuring the tires and brakes are perfect for the next landing. It's a ballet of precision and expertise, performed while most of us are asleep. The simplicity of the design was key to this efficiency. Complex systems were made accessible. Panels opened easily, and key components were within reach. This wasn't just about making the technicians' lives easier. It was a core part of the safety and economic strategy. Less time spent on maintenance means more time in the air, generating revenue. But more importantly, a simpler, more logical layout reduces the chance of human error. When you're working against the clock, clarity is your best friend. Airlines quickly realized the immense value in this. The cost savings were enormous. Training for mechanics was streamlined because the principles were consistent across the fleet. The need for vast, specialized inventories of unique parts at every single airport was reduced. This operational efficiency allowed airlines to lower ticket prices, making air travel more accessible to millions. So, in a way, the mechanic tightening a bolt in the middle of the night helped make your last vacation possible. These professionals are a special breed. They possess an incredible depth of knowledge, a calm demeanor under pressure, and a profound sense of responsibility. They know that thousands of lives depend on their diligence. They don't do it for the glory. They do it because they are passionate about aviation and committed to safety. They are the troubleshooters, the problem solvers, the ones who can diagnose a subtle change in an engine's hung or an unusual reading on a diagnostic report. Think about the trust we place in them. We board a plane, settle into our seats, and put our lives in the hands of people we will never meet. We trust that last night someone was checking the hydraulic lines. We trust that someone was calibrating the navigation systems. We trust that every single item on a long and detailed checklist was ticked off with unwavering focus. That trust is earned, night after night, in hangars just like this one, all around the world, so this chapter is a tribute. It's a salute to the men and women in grease-stained coveralls and steel-toed boots. They are the foundation upon which the entire aviation industry is built. While the pilots are the celebrated heroes of the sky, the mechanics and technicians are the steadfast, silent guardians of the ground. Their work ensures that every takeoff is optional, but every landing is mandatory, and above all, safe. The next time you're at an airport, Take a moment. If you see the ground crews working around a plane, remember the incredible skill and dedication that goes into keeping these magnificent machines flying. They are the heart and soul of aviation's reliability. Thank you for joining me for this look behind the curtain. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next chapter in our journey. Fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through the skies. In this chapter, we witness a revolution. It's the late 1990s, and the world is on the cusp of a new millennium. In the halls of Boeing, something incredible is taking shape. An evolution so profound it would redefine the most successful commercial jetliner in history. This is the story of the Boeing 737 Next Generation, or as we all know it, the NG. Imagine the pressure. You have the world's best-selling aircraft. How do you make it better without losing the magic? Boeing's answer was bold and brilliant. They didn't just tweak the 737. They reinvented it from the wings in. This wasn't a single new plane. It was an entire family, designed to meet the diverse needs of a rapidly changing airline industry. The 737-600, the -700, the -800, and the longer -900 were born. Each one shared a common heritage, but was optimized for different routes and passenger loads, offering airlines unprecedented flexibility. So, what made the Next Generation so... Next Generation? Let's start with the wings. They were completely redesigned larger, with a wider wingspan and an increased area. This wasn't just for looks. This new wing could hold more fuel, allowing the 737 to fly farther than ever before. Think transcontinental routes that were previously the domain of larger, wide-body jets. The 737NG could now tackle them with ease, opening up hundreds of new non-stop city pairs for airlines and passengers. It was a game-changer for point-to-point travel. Attached to these magnificent new wings were new power plants. The CFM567B engines were a marvel of efficiency and reliability. They were more powerful, burned less fuel, and were significantly quieter than their predecessors. That smooth, distinctive hum of a 737NG taking off became the soundtrack of global travel. For airlines, this meant lower operating costs. For communities near airports, it meant less noise. And for the environment, it meant a smaller carbon footprint. It was a win-win-win. But the biggest leap forward was arguably in the cockpit. The NG introduced a state-of-the-art glass cockpit. The old-school analog dials and gauges were replaced by large, multi-function liquid crystal display screens. This new digital avionics suite, inspired by the larger 777, provided pilots with more information in a clearer, more intuitive way. It enhanced situational awareness, reduced pilot workload, and improved safety. Flying the 737 became more efficient and more precise than ever. The cockpit had truly entered the digital age. Now, let's talk about the superstar of the family, the 737-800. This model hit the absolute sweet spot for airlines. It offered the perfect balance of range, capacity, and efficiency. Seating around 160 to 189 passengers, it was ideal for both short-haul hops and medium-haul international flights. Airlines around the world, from legacy carriers to the burgeoning low-cost sector, fell in love with it. Ryanair, Southwest, American, United, you name it, they flew it. The -800 became the workhorse of the 21st century global fleet. The success was staggering. The 737-800 didn't just sell well. It became the single best-selling variant of any aircraft model in history. Think about that for a moment. More 800s have been built and delivered than any other single commercial jet model. Its versatility was unmatched. One day, it could be flying a short business route, and the next, it could be taking vacationers to a sunny destination thousands of miles away. This flexibility made it an incredible asset, maximizing profitability for airlines and making air travel more accessible for all of us. The NG family wasn't just an update. It was a strategic masterpiece. By offering a family of aircraft with different sizes but common pilot ratings and maintenance procedures, Boeing allowed airlines to build their fleets with incredible efficiency. A pilot trained on a 737-700 could easily transition to a -900. Maintenance. Crews could use the same tools and parts across the fleet. This commonality drove down costs and simplified operations, giving airlines a massive competitive advantage. The impact of the 737 next generation cannot be overstated. It didn't just keep the 737 production line running, it supercharged it. It fought off fierce competition from Airbus and its A320 family, ensuring that the 737 remained the king of the narrow-body market. For decades, the NG series defined what a modern, efficient, and reliable single-aisle jet should be. It cemented the 737's legacy not just as a successful airplane but as an immortal icon of aviation. The smooth hum of its CFM engines became the sound of our connected world, a world made smaller and more accessible by this incredible family of aircraft. The next generation revolution ensured that the story of the 737 was far from over. In fact, it set the stage for the next, even more advanced chapter. Join us next time as we explore the latest evolution in this incredible saga. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this passion for aviation with us. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next episode. We'll see you in the skies. Welcome back to our journey through the skies. Today, we're on Chapter 11, and we're exploring how one remarkable aircraft, the Boeing 737, truly conquered the world's skies. If you've ever flown, there's a good chance you've been on one. From the frosty runways of Alaska to the sun-drenched tarmac of Australia, the 737 is the unsung hero that connects millions of us every single day. Think about it for a moment. Right now, as you're watching this, thousands of 737s are crisscrossing the globe. They are the workhorses of the airline industry, the backbone of modern air travel. This isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about connecting families, enabling business, and opening up the world in a way that was once unimaginable. The 737 made short to medium-haul travel accessible and affordable for the masses, effectively shrinking our planet. One of the most visually exciting aspects of the 737's story is its role as a flying canvas. Every airline wants to stand out, and the 737 has worn some of the most iconic liveries in aviation history. Remember the bold, polished aluminum of American Airlines? Or the vibrant, globe-spanning designs of airlines from every corner of the Earth? Each livery tells a story of national pride, corporate identity, and artistic expression. These aren't just paint jobs. They are symbols of connection and partnership. When you see a Southwest 737 with its heart livery, you know what it stands for. When you see a Ryanair jet, you recognize it instantly. The 737 has been the platform for these powerful brand statements, becoming a familiar sight at airports worldwide. The partnerships built around this aircraft are just as significant. The 737 has been a cornerstone for countless airline alliances and codeshare agreements. A flight might be operated by one airline, but sold by several others, creating a seamless travel network. This level of cooperation was fueled by having a reliable, standardized aircraft that pilots, mechanics, and ground crews around the world knew inside and out. It created a common language in aviation, allowing for unprecedented levels of collaboration and efficiency, all of which benefits us as passengers. Here's a beautiful thought. Somewhere on Earth, at any given moment, a Boeing 737 is taking off into a sunrise, while another, thousands of miles away, is landing against the backdrop of a sunset. It is the airplane that witnesses both the beginning and the end of each day, every single day. This constant, rhythmic dance across time zones is a powerful symbol of our interconnected world. It represents a continuous, unbroken chain of human movement and endeavor. While we sleep, the 737 is still flying, carrying people, cargo, and dreams through the night sky. It's a testament to the relentless pace of modern life, a pace that the 737 itself helped to set. The impact of the 737 on global commerce and tourism cannot be overstated. Before its widespread adoption, many destinations were considered remote or too expensive to reach for the average person. The 737 changed that. It opened up secondary cities and smaller markets, creating new tourist hubs and economic opportunities. Think of the holiday destinations that became household names in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Many of them owe their popularity to the arrival of the 737, which brought a steady stream of visitors and investment. This aircraft became a catalyst for economic growth. Fresh flowers from Colombia could be in Miami by morning. Tech components from Southeast Asia could reach assembly lines in Europe within a day. This rapid movement of goods, facilitated by the cargo variants of the 737, fueled the global supply chains we rely on today. It wasn't just about vacationers. It was about building a global marketplace, and the 737 was one of its most important delivery vans. It fundamentally reshaped how businesses operated and how we sourced products from around the world. When we look up at the sky and see the contrail of a jet, it's easy to take it for granted. But that simple white line represents something profound: the gentle continuity of flight in human civilization. For millennia, humans dreamed of flying. Now it's a routine part of life, as normal as catching a bus. The 737 embodies this normalization. It's not the biggest or the fastest plane, but its reliability and ubiquity have made it a symbol of steadfast progress. It's a quiet promise that the world is accessible, that distances can be overcome, and that our connections to each other can span continents. This continuous presence in our skies offers a sense of stability. Through economic booms and busts, through changing political landscapes, the 737 has remained a constant. It has flown generation after generation, adapting and evolving with new technology, but always fulfilling its core mission: to bring people together. It's a silent thread weaving through the narrative of our modern world, a symbol of our shared human desire to explore, connect, and move forward. The story of the 737 across the world's skies is not just a story of a machine. It's a story about us. Thank you so much for joining me on this chapter of our aviation adventure. It's truly amazing to consider the incredible impact this single aircraft has had on our world. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue exploring the fascinating world of aviation with us, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our next chapter. We'll see you in the next one. Have you ever been at the airport, looked out the window, and seen a plane that just felt familiar? Chances are, you were looking at a Boeing 737. This aircraft isn't just a machine. It's a part of our collective memory, a silent star in the backdrop of our lives. Today, we're re-exploring how the 737 flew beyond the runway and soared right into the heart of pop culture and our personal stories. It's more than just a plane. It's a symbol of connection, adventure, and the rhythm of modern life. From blockbuster movies to the photo album of your first family vacation, the 737 has been there. So buckle up as we take a journey through the cultural impact of the world's most recognizable jetliner. Think about your favorite airport scene in a movie. Is it a dramatic farewell? A heartwarming reunion? A thrilling chase sequence? Now picture the planes in the background. More often than not, you'll spot the unmistakable silhouette of the 737. Its twin engines under the wings. Its distinctively shaped tail, it's the quintessential passenger jet. Hollywood has used it for decades to signal modern air travel. It's the plane the hero rushes to catch, the one that carries the family to a holiday destination in a Christmas movie, or the backdrop for a tense conversation on the tarmac. It's appeared in countless films, from action-packed thrillers to romantic comedies, often without even getting a credit. It's the ultimate background actor, setting the stage for stories of human connection and adventure. When an airline wants to convey safety, reliability, and the promise of a dream vacation, they often feature a gleaming 737 taking off into a perfect blue sky. It's the visual shorthand for "we'll get you there." These ads didn't just sell tickets. They sold an idea. The idea that the world was accessible, that you could leave your everyday life behind and be somewhere completely different in a matter of hours. The 737 in these commercials wasn't just a mode of transport. It was a magic carpet, a vessel for dreams, promising sunshine, new experiences, and unforgettable memories. For frequent flyers and casual travelers alike, the 737 has a comforting, almost reassuring presence. Its design has evolved, but the core look has remained consistent. Seeing it parked at the gate can feel like meeting an old friend. You know what to expect. You've walked down its aisle, sat in its seats, and looked out its windows countless times. This familiarity is powerful. In a world of constant change, the 737 represents a dependable constant in the often stressful experience of air travel. It's the airplane that feels like the asterisk airplane. For millions, the sight of a 737 doesn't just mean they're about to fly. It means they're one step closer to their destination. whether that's a business meeting, a tropical island, or the warm embrace of family. Because of this constant presence, the 737 has become more than just an aircraft. It's a genuine symbol of our modern, interconnected world. It represents the very idea of globalization and mobility. It's the workhorse that made low-cost travel a reality for the masses, shrinking the globe and connecting cultures in a way that was previously unimaginable. Every time a 737 takes off, it's weaving another thread in the vast, invisible network that ties our planet together. It carries business people forging new partnerships, students embarking on exchange programs, and tourists discovering new perspectives. The hum of its engines is the background music of the 21st century, a constant reminder that we are all part of a global community, just a single flight away from each other. Now, let's get personal. How many of you remember your very first flight? For a huge number of people, that milestone happened aboard a 737. Think back to that feeling, the mix of excitement and nervousness, the thrill of acceleration on the runway, and the absolute magic of seeing your town shrink below as you climb through the clouds. Or what about those classic family vacations? Piling into the car to go to the airport, your parents juggling passports and luggage, and the final destination of that journey being a shiny 737 waiting to whisk you away to somewhere new and exciting. These planes are the vessels of our nostalgia. They are intrinsically linked to some of our most cherished core memories, first adventures, holiday travels, and shared family experiences that we talk about for years to come. The 737 isn't just the plane that took us on vacation. For many, it's the airplane that carried us home. It's the plane that brought soldiers back to their families, the one that flew college students home for the holidays, and the one that reunited loved ones who lived oceans apart. Think of the emotional weight these aircraft have carried. The seats of a 737 have witnessed tears of joy, sighs of relief, and quiet anticipation. For generations, the announcement, "We've begun our final descent," has signaled the end of a journey and the beginning of a homecoming. The 737 is the unsung hero in millions of reunion stories, a silent and steady chariot bringing people back to where they belong. It has been a constant, reliable presence in the sky, ensuring that no matter how far we roam, there's always a way back. From its humble beginnings, the 737 evolved into a global icon. It democratized air travel, making it possible for ordinary people to see the world. It became a movie star, an advertising legend, and a familiar sight at every major airport on Earth. But its most important role has been the one it has played in our own lives. It's the backdrop to our personal stories, the carrier of our hopes, and the vehicle for our most precious memories. The next time you're at an airport and you see that familiar shape taxiing on the runway, take a moment to appreciate it. You're not just looking at a piece of machinery. You're looking at a piece of history, a symbol of our connected world, and a part of your own story. It's the people's plane, the airplane that truly belongs to all of us. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the cultural legacy of the Boeing 737. It is amazing how a machine can become so intertwined with our human experience. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more stories from the world of aviation and beyond, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us create more content for you. We'd love to hear your own 737 stories, so please share them in the comments below. Until next time, fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through the skies, and today, we're stepping into a new era. This is Chapter 13, the 737 MAX, a new chapter begins. Picture this, it's the early 2010s, the aviation world is buzzing. The demand for more efficient, modern aircraft is at an all-time high. Airlines are looking for ways to cut costs, reduce their environmental footprint, and offer passengers a better experience. For Boeing, the answer lay in building upon its most successful creation. The stage was set for the next evolution of the world's most popular jetliner. And so, Boeing pulled back the curtain on its ambitious new project, the 737 MAX family. This wasn't just a minor facelift. It was a significant leap forward. The goal was to take the legendary reliability and familiarity of the 737 and infuse it with cutting-edge technology for the 21st century. It was a bold move designed to keep the 737 legacy soaring for another generation, fending off fierce competition and solidifying its place at the top. The announcement sent ripples of excitement through the industry. Everyone was watching, waiting to see what this new chapter would bring. At the very heart of the 737 MAX's appeal were its brand new engines. Boeing partnered with CFM International to equip the MAX with the LEAP-1B engines. Now, these weren't just any engines. They were marvels of modern engineering designed from the ground up for one primary purpose: fuel efficiency. The LEAP-1B promised a significant reduction in fuel consumption compared to its predecessors. For airlines, where fuel is one of the biggest operating expenses, this was a game-changer. It meant lower costs, which could translate to more competitive ticket prices for passengers. These engines were quieter too, a welcome development for both people on the ground and those inside the cabin. They were the powerhouse that would drive the 737 into the future. But the innovation didn't stop at the engines. If you look at a 737 MAX, one of the most striking visual differences is at the tips of its wings. Boeing introduced the advanced technology winglet. This distinctive split-tip design wasn't just for looks. It was pure aerodynamic genius. By reducing the drag created at the wingtips, these winglets further improved the aircraft's fuel efficiency. They essentially allowed the plane to slice through the air more cleanly, contributing to its overall performance. Combined with the new engines, the MAX was shaping up to be one of the most economical single-aisle jets on the market. It was a perfect blend of form and function, a visible symbol of the aircraft's modernity. Beyond the performance metrics, the 737 MAX came with a promise of a better passenger experience. Boeing redesigned the interior with its Sky Interior concept. This included modern, sculpted sidewalls and window reveals that made the cabin feel more spacious and open. The overhead bins were larger and pivoted upwards, creating more headroom and making it easier to store carry-on luggage. The lighting was another key feature, with dynamic LED lighting that could be adjusted to create a more relaxing ambiance, from a soft blue sky during boarding to a warm, calming glow during the flight. The promise was clear. This new 737 would not only be more efficient for airlines, but also more comfortable and pleasant for the millions of people who would fly on it. So, why was this so important for Boeing? It was all about continuing a legacy. The 737 had been in continuous production since the 1960s, a record unmatched by any other commercial jetliner. With each new generation, the classics, the next generation. And now the MAX. Boeing had successfully adapted the aircraft to meet the changing demands of the market. By launching the MAX, Boeing was making a powerful statement. The 737 was not a relic of the past. It was a platform that could evolve, adapt, and continue to lead the way. It was a strategy to maintain commonality for pilots and crews, which airlines loved, while offering the performance and technology needed to compete head-on with its newest rivals. It was a delicate balancing act of honoring the past while embracing the future. The response from the global airline community was nothing short of phenomenal. Orders began pouring in from carriers all around the world, from major legacy airlines to fast-growing low-cost carriers. The combination of fuel efficiency, proven reliability, and passenger comfort was an irresistible package. For many airlines, the 737 MAX was the perfect aircraft to modernize their fleets, expand their route networks, and improve their bottom line. The order book quickly swelled, becoming one of the fastest-selling airplanes in Boeing's history. This overwhelming demand created a palpable sense of excitement and anticipation. The industry was eager to see the 737 MAX take to the skies and begin its service, heralding a new and promising chapter for commercial aviation. The design philosophy behind the MAX was deeply rooted in this idea of evolution, not revolution. Pilots already certified to fly the 737 NG would require only a short, computer-based training course to transition to the MAX. This was a massive selling point for airlines, as it drastically reduced training costs and complexity. The cockpit itself, while updated with larger, modern display screens, maintained a familiar layout. This continuity was a core part of the 737's success story. It allowed for a seamless integration of the new aircraft into existing fleets. Boeing was betting that this strategy, offering a technologically advanced aircraft that felt instantly familiar, was the key to keeping its customers loyal and its production lines humming for decades to come. As the first 737 MAX aircraft rolled off the production line in Renton, Washington, the excitement reached a fever pitch. The sleek new jet, with its distinctive winglets and larger engine nacelles, was a sight to behold. It represented years of research, development, and engineering prowess. It was the physical manifestation of Boeing's promise to deliver a more efficient, comfortable, and technologically advanced aircraft. The first flight was flawless, and the subsequent test program proceeded smoothly, validating the design and performance goals. Airlines and the flying public alike watched with keen interest, ready to welcome this new generation of the 737. The stage was set, the anticipation was high, and a new chapter in aviation history was about to begin. Thank you so much for joining me on this part of our journey. The story of the 737 MAX is complex and has many more turns to take, which we'll explore in our next chapter. If you're enjoying this series, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. Your support means the world. Until next time, fly safe. Welcome back to our series. Today, we delve into one of the most consequential chapters in modern aviation history, the grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX. This is a story of immense tragedy, of systemic failures, and of a global industry forced into a period of profound self-reflection. It's a somber topic, but one we must understand to appreciate the paramount importance of safety in the skies. Our story begins with two devastating events that sent shockwaves around the world. On October 29, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610, a brand new Boeing 737 MAX, plunged into the Java Sea just minutes after taking off from Jakarta, Indonesia. All 189 people on board were lost. The aviation community was stunned. How could a state-of-the-art aircraft, one of the best-selling models in history, simply fall out of the sky? Initial investigations pointed towards a new flight control system called the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS. This system, designed to make the MAX handle similarly to its predecessors, was largely unknown to the pilots. It was intended to automatically push the aircraft as nose down under specific aerodynamic conditions to prevent a stall. In the case of Lion Air 610, a single faulty angle of attack sensor erroneously triggered MCAS, forcing the plane into a dive that the crew, unaware of what was happening, fought valiantly but ultimately could not overcome. Boeing and the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, issued directives, assuring the world that they were addressing the software and that the plane remained safe to fly. They maintained that with the correct pilot procedures, any MCAS malfunction could be managed. The global fleet of 737 AX aircraft continued to operate, carrying millions of passengers daily. Then the unthinkable happened again. Less than 5 months later, on March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, another brand new 737 MAX, crashed shortly after takeoff from Addis Ababa. The circumstances were eerily similar to the Lion Air disaster. Once again, all 157 souls on board perished. The world watched in horror. Two catastrophic accidents involving the same new aircraft model in such a short span of time was unprecedented in the modern era. It was a crisis of catastrophic proportions. This second tragedy was the tipping point. Within hours, aviation authorities around the world began to act. China was the first major authority to ground the 737 MAX, followed swiftly by others across Asia, Europe, and the rest of the globe. For a brief, tense period, the FAA in the United States held its position, insisting the aircraft was airworthy. But the global pressure was immense. The world had lost confidence. Finally, on March 13, 2019, the United States joined the rest of the world, and the entire global fleet of the Boeing 737 MAX was grounded indefinitely. The sky fell silent for the MAX. Hundreds of aircraft were parked on tarmacs from Seattle to Singapore. The grounding didn't just affect Boeing. It caused a ripple effect across the entire aviation ecosystem. Airlines that had built their fleet expansion plans around the fuel-efficient MAX were thrown into chaos, canceling thousands of flights and scrambling to find replacement aircraft. The financial toll was staggering, running into the billions of dollars for both Boeing and its airline customers. But the financial cost paled in comparison to the human cost and the damage to public trust. The focus now shifted from the technical problem to the human and regulatory failures that allowed it to happen. Intense scrutiny fell upon Boeing, a titan of American industry, and its regulator, the FAA. How was this system, MCAS, approved? Why were pilots not adequately trained or even informed about its existence? Congressional hearings, investigative reports, and media exposes began to peel back the layers of the story. They revealed a complex picture of a competitive corporate culture, intense pressure to get the MAX to market quickly to compete with Airbus, and a regulatory process that seemed to have delegated too much oversight authority to Boeing itself. Whistleblowers and internal documents suggested that concerns about MCAS were known within Boeing long before the accidents. The investigations pointed to a cascade of failures. The system was designed with a critical flaw. It relied on a single sensor, creating a single point of failure. The assumptions made about pilot reaction times in a crisis were tragically optimistic, and the information provided to airlines and pilots was critically insufficient. The trust between the manufacturer, the regulator, the pilots, and the flying public was shattered. The grounding would last for 20 long months, the longest in commercial aviation history. During this time, Boeing engineers and software developers worked relentlessly to overhaul the 737 MAX's flight control systems. The fix was not just a simple software patch. It involved redesigning MCAS to take input from two sensors, not just one. It ensured the system could never be activated repeatedly or with enough authority to overwhelm the pilots. Furthermore, a complete overhaul of pilot training procedures was mandated. Every MAX pilot would now be required to undergo simulator training specifically on the new systems. Simultaneously, the FAA and other global regulators conducted the most intensive and exhaustive certification process ever undertaken. International collaboration became key. Regulators who had previously followed the FAA's lead now conducted their own independent analyses and test flights. They needed to be certain for the sake of their own citizens that every possible risk had been mitigated. This period marked a fundamental shift in the global aviation safety landscape, moving away from a system of reciprocal trust to one of independent verification. In late 2020, after rigorous reviews and test flights, the FAA was the first to clear the 737 AX to return to service. Other regulators followed suit over the next several months, each completing their own stringent validation processes. The path back was slow and deliberate. Airlines took great care in reintroducing the aircraft, focusing on transparency and communicating the extensive changes made to ensure its safety. The story of the 737 MAX is a deeply somber reminder that in aviation safety is not a goal. It is the absolute, non-negotiable foundation of everything. The 346 lives lost in these two accidents must never be forgotten. They serve as a permanent testament to the catastrophic consequences of cutting corners, of insufficient oversight, and of a failure to prioritize safety above all else. The lessons learned have been hard-won and have fundamentally reshaped the industry. There is a renewed focus on transparency, a stronger system of regulatory oversight, and a deeper appreciation for the human factors in cockpit design and pilot training. The path to rebuilding trust is long, but it is a journey the entire aviation world is committed to. The legacy of these tragedies must be a safer future for everyone who flies. Thank you for joining us for this difficult but important chapter. We honor the memory of all those lost. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the world of aviation. We'll see you next time. After 20 long, agonizing months, a glimmer of hope finally pierced through the darkness. November 18, 2020, that was the day the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, officially rescinded its grounding order for the Boeing 737 MAX. This wasn't a snap decision. It was the culmination of the most intense scrutiny any commercial aircraft has ever faced. Engineers and regulators from around the world had pored over every line of code, every circuit, every mechanical linkage. The goal was singular: to ensure that the tragedies of Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines could never, ever be repeated. The core of the problem, the MCAS system, was completely overhauled. It was no longer a single point of failure system operating in the shadows. The redesigned MCAS now required input from both angle of attack sensors, not just one. If the sensors disagreed by a significant margin, the system would deactivate entirely. Furthermore, MCAS would now only activate once per high angle of attack event, preventing the relentless, repeated nose-down commands that had doomed the previous flights. And crucially, its authority was limited. It could no longer push the nose down so aggressively that pilots could counteract it by pulling back on the control column. This was a fundamental shift, handing ultimate control back to the human beings in the cockpit. But software was only part of the solution. The entire flight control system underwent a comprehensive review. Wiring bundles were rerouted to prevent potential short circuits. a separate issue discovered during the intense review process. Every aspect of the aircraft's design that could even remotely contribute to a loss of control was examined, debated, and fortified. Boeing's engineers, their reputation on the line, worked tirelessly, collaborating with a global coalition of aviation authorities. This wasn't just about satisfying one regulator. It was about convincing the entire world that the MAX was safe. It was a Herculean task, involving millions of man-hours and countless simulations. With the technical fixes in place, the focus shifted to the human element. The original training for the MAX, which infamously consisted of a short iPad course for many pilots, was deemed tragically inadequate. A new, far more rigorous training protocol was developed. Pilots who would fly the MAX were now required to undergo mandatory simulator training. This wasn't just any simulator. These were full-flight simulators programmed to replicate the exact failure scenarios that led to the crashes. Pilots practiced the runaway stabilizer trim procedure over and over again, building muscle memory. They learned to recognize the cacophony of warnings, the stick shaker, the conflicting airspeed indicators, and to methodically work through the checklists to regain control. The goal was to make the correct response second nature, to ensure that no pilot would ever again be caught off guard by the aircraft's own systems. On December 9, 2020, a Brazilian airline, Gol, became the first in the world to return the 737X to commercial service. It was a flight from São Paulo to Porto Alegre. For the passengers and crew on board, it was just another domestic flight. But for the global aviation community, it was a moment of profound significance. Every takeoff, every landing was watched with bated breath. American Airlines followed suit later that month, on December 29, with a flight from Miami to New York's LaGuardia Airport. The airline made a point of being transparent, allowing passengers to see if they were booked on a MAX and offering them the flexibility to change flights for free. The CEO of American Airlines, Doug Parker, and his wife were even on that first flight. A powerful gesture of confidence in the aircraft's safety. Initially, public sentiment was a mixed bag. The scars of the two crashes were still fresh, and the headlines had been brutal. Many travelers were understandably anxious. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #BoycottBoeingMax. People used flight tracking apps to check their aircraft type, with some actively avoiding the jet. Airlines knew they had a mountain to climb to rebuild that sacred trust. They embarked on public relations campaigns, highlighting the extensive software updates, the new training protocols, and the multi-layered oversight from global regulators. They put their top executives and senior pilots on the first flights, not as a stunt, but as a genuine demonstration of their faith in the machine. They knew that actions would speak louder than any press release. Slowly, cautiously, the tide began to turn. As the MAX flew thousands, then tens of thousands of flights without a single major incident, the fear began to subside. The quiet, uneventful routine of daily operations became the most powerful argument for the plane's safety. Pilots, who were initially among the most vocal critics, started to speak out in support of the revamped aircraft. They praised the improved systems and the comprehensive training, expressing confidence in their ability to handle any situation. Their endorsement was crucial. If the people flying the plane trusted it, it became easier for the public to do so as well. The plane's excellent fuel efficiency and passenger comfort also began to win people over, reminding everyone why it had been so popular in the first place. The return of the MAX was more than just a logistical exercise. For the thousands of Boeing employees, it was a chance at redemption. The grounding had been a period of deep introspection and, for many, profound shame. They had dedicated their lives to building what they believed were the best and safest airplanes in the world, and that belief had been shattered. Seeing the MAX take to the skies again, this time with the unequivocal backing of the global regulatory community, was a vindication of their tireless work to right the wrongs of the past. It was a quiet triumph, a testament to the resilience of the engineers, technicians, and pilots who refused to let the story end in tragedy. As months turned into years, the 737 MAX slowly but surely integrated back into the global fleet. Major airlines like Southwest, Ryanair, and United placed massive new orders, signaling a long-term commitment to the aircraft. For the families of the 346 victims, no fix, no redesign could ever bring back their loved ones. Their loss remains the indelible legacy of this saga, a permanent reminder of the human cost of corporate hubris and regulatory failure. Yet, The painstaking process of returning the MAX to service also serves as a powerful lesson. It forced a global reckoning in aviation safety, leading to stronger oversight, more transparent processes, and a renewed focus on the critical interplay between human and machine. Today, hundreds of 737 MAX jets crisscross the globe every single day, carrying millions of passengers safely to their destinations. Each uneventful flight is a quiet testament to the lessons learned in the darkest of times. The journey was long, painful, and fraught with challenges, but it ultimately led back to the skies with a safer aircraft and a chastened, more vigilant industry. The sky, once a symbol of a looming crisis, once again became a domain of quiet, everyday miracles, a testament to human ingenuity and the enduring quest for safer travel. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the story of the Boeing 737 MAX. It's a complex and important story, and we appreciate you sticking with us through it all. If you found this series informative, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel for more content like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through the skies. We've explored the rich history of aviation, but now it's time to look forward into the blue yonder of tomorrow. This is Chapter 16, Engineering the Future, where we explore the incredible push towards sustainability and innovation that's reshaping the very way we fly. The roar of a jet engine has long been the sound of human connection and progress, but in the 21st century, that sound must also be the hum of responsibility. The challenge is immense. How do we keep the world connected while protecting the only planet we have? The answer lies in engineering, ingenuity, and a shared vision for a greener sky. At the forefront of this green revolution is a concept that sounds like science fiction but is rapidly becoming reality. Sustainable aviation fuels, or SAF. Imagine powering a massive airliner not with traditional fossil fuels, but with renewable resources like used cooking oil, agricultural waste, or even algae. Boeing has been a major champion of this technology. They aren't just designing planes to be compatible with SAF. They're actively working to build the global supply chain. In 2021, they committed to delivering commercial airplanes capable of flying on 100% AF by 2030. This isn't just a minor tweak. It's a fundamental shift. Using SAF can reduce carbon emissions by up to 80% over the fuel's life cycle compared to conventional jet fuel. It's the most direct and impactful way to decarbonize air travel right now. Think about it. The same airports, the same planes, but a dramatically smaller carbon footprint. This is the bridge to a sustainable future, and we're already walking across it. But fuel is only one part of the equation. The other is the aircraft itself. For decades, engineers have been on a quest to make planes lighter, stronger, and more efficient. Today, that quest is more critical than ever. The secret lies in advanced materials. We're talking about carbon fiber composites, which are incredibly strong yet significantly lighter than traditional aluminum. A lighter plane needs less thrust to get airborne and less fuel to stay there. Every pound saved on the aircraft's structure is a pound less that the engines have to carry, which translates directly into fuel savings and lower emissions. Boeing's 787 Dreamliner was a game-changer in this regard, with a fuselage made of over 50% composite materials. This revolutionary design made it about 20% more fuel efficient than the planes it replaced. This philosophy of lightweighting is now a core principle of modern aircraft design, a constant, intricate dance between strength, safety, and sustainability. And what about the heart of the aircraft, the engines? They're getting a massive makeover too. Modern jet engines are marvels of engineering, quieter and more efficient than ever before. Innovations like high bypass ratio turbofans mean that for every bit of air that goes through the engine's core to be burned with fuel, a much larger amount of air is simply accelerated around the core. This bypass air creates most of the thrust, using far less fuel and creating far less noise. Cleaner combustion chambers are also being designed to burn fuel more completely, which drastically reduces the output of pollutants like nitrogen oxides. It's a quiet revolution happening inside those nacelles hanging under the wings. Every new generation of engine pushes the boundaries, sipping fuel more delicately and leaving a lighter touch on the atmosphere. The evolution of a single aircraft can tell this entire story. Take the Boeing 737. It first flew in the 1960s, a testament to the jet age. But the 737 flying today is a completely different machine. through its various generations from the original 100s to the classics, the next generation, and now the MAX series, it has mirrored our growing understanding of efficiency and environmental impact. The latest 737 MAX, for example, features advanced winglets and the new LEAP-1B engines. These improvements combine to make it significantly more fuel efficient than its predecessors. This constant cycle of refinement shows that sustainability isn't about waiting for a single, magical solution. It's about relentless, incremental progress. It's about making each new generation of aircraft better than the last, building upon decades of knowledge to fly smarter and cleaner. The journey of the 737 is, in many ways, the journey of commercial aviation itself. Always adapting, always improving, always reaching for a higher, and now greener, horizon. So what lies beyond the immediate future of SAF and advanced materials? What's on the distant horizon? This is where the dreams get really exciting. Engineers and visionaries are exploring concepts that could redefine flight entirely. One of the most promising is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and when used as fuel, its only major byproduct is water. Imagine a plane that leaves a trail of vapor instead of carbon dioxide. The challenges are significant, of course. Storing liquid hydrogen on an aircraft requires cryogenic temperatures and specially designed tanks, which would necessitate a radical redesign of the aircraft itself. But the potential is so transformative that companies like Boeing are actively investing in research and partnering with innovators to explore hydrogen-powered concepts. It's a long-term vision, but it represents a truly zero-carbon destination for aviation. And then there's the electric dream. Just as cars are going electric, could planes do the same? For small, short-range aircraft, the answer is yes, and it's happening now. Electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, or eVTOLs, are being developed for urban air mobility, think flying taxis. These small, quiet, and emission-free vehicles could revolutionize how we move around cities. For larger commercial airliners, full electrification is a much tougher nut to crack due to the weight and energy density of current battery technology. However, hybrid electric systems, which combine traditional turbine engines with electric motors, are a much more feasible near-term goal. These systems could be used during takeoff and climb to reduce fuel burn and noise, acting as a stepping stone towards more electric aviation. Boeing, through its investments and research programs, is deeply involved in exploring these electric possibilities, understanding that the future of flight might just be a hum instead of a roar. As we stand here, gazing at the future, it's easy to feel a sense of wonder. The journey of aviation has always been about pushing the limits of what's possible. From the first tentative hop at Kitty Hawk to landing on the moon, humanity has looked to the skies and asked, what's next? Today that question is infused with a new sense of purpose. The challenge is no longer just to fly farther or faster, but to fly in harmony with our planet. The path forward is paved with sustainable fuels, lighter materials, cleaner engines, and bold dreams of hydrogen and electricity. It is a future being engineered today by thousands of brilliant minds dedicated to ensuring that the magic of flight can be enjoyed by generations to come. It's a gentle look towards a new dawn for aviation. A tomorrow where our contrails paint a story not just of human ingenuity, but of our commitment to a sustainable world. The sky is not the limit. It's our shared responsibility and our greatest opportunity. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the past, present, and future of aviation. I hope it has inspired you to look up at the sky with a little more wonder and a lot more hope. If you enjoyed this series, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us continue to tell these amazing stories. Fly safe and see you next time. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Today, we're diving into one of the greatest rivalries in the modern world. A clash of titans that has defined the skies for decades. Boeing versus Airbus. This isn't just a business competition. It's a story of innovation, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. Our focus? The legendary showdown between the Boeing 737 and its European counterpart, the Airbus A320. It all began in the 1980s. Boeing's 737 was the undisputed king of the short to medium haul market. It was reliable, efficient, and airlines loved it. But across the Atlantic, a new challenger was emerging. Airbus, a European consortium, was ready to take on the American giant. Their weapon of choice? The A320, and it wasn't just another airplane, it was a revolution. The A320 entered the scene with a game-changing feature: fly-by-wire technology. Instead of traditional manual flight controls, the A320 used a digital, computer-regulated system. Pilots controlled the aircraft using a side stick, more like a joystick in a video game than a conventional yoke. This was a radical departure. It made the plane lighter, more fuel-efficient, and introduced a new level of flight envelope protection, preventing pilots from making extreme maneuvers that could endanger the aircraft. The cabin was also slightly wider than the 737s, offering a bit more comfort for passengers, a small detail that airlines and travelers noticed. Boeing, seeing the A320's rapid success, knew it couldn't stand still. This direct challenge sparked a fire in Seattle. They had to respond, and respond they did. This led to the development of the 737 Next Generation, or NG series, the -600, -700, -800, and -900 models. Boeing redesigned the wing, giving it a larger area and wingspan, and introduced new, more powerful and efficient CFM56-7 engines. They updated the cockpit with modern glass displays, bringing it into the digital age while still retaining the classic control yoke that pilots were familiar with. It was a brilliant move, blending innovation with the familiarity and trust that airlines had in the 737 platform. This back and forth became the rhythm of the industry. Airbus innovated, Boeing responded. Boeing advanced, Airbus countered. It was a friendly yet fierce race for supremacy. Every percentage point of fuel efficiency, every seat added, every decibel of noise reduced, became a battleground. This competition wasn't just about selling planes. It was about pushing the boundaries of what was possible in aviation. I've had the privilege of speaking with several airline executives who were making purchasing decisions during this era. One told me, choosing between a 737 and an A320 was one of the toughest calls you could make. On one hand, you had the 737's proven track record and incredible operational reliability. Your pilots knew it. Your mechanics knew it. The transition was seamless, he continued, but then Airbus would come in with the A320, showing you fuel burn numbers that were just slightly better, a cabin that felt more modern, and a technological edge that was hard to ignore. It really came down to your airline's specific routes, your fleet strategy, and sometimes even the gut feeling of the CEO. Another decision-maker highlighted the pilot training aspect. With the A320 family, a pilot qualified on the A319 could, with minimal additional training, fly the larger A321. This common type rating was a huge selling point for Airbus, offering incredible flexibility for crew scheduling. Boeing countered this by emphasizing the continuity for pilots transitioning from older 737s to the NG series. The cockpit felt familiar, reducing training time and costs for existing Boeing customers. It was a strategic chess match played out over decades. This intense competition was the best thing that could have happened for aviation and for us, the passengers. It forced both manufacturers to constantly improve. Safety standards were raised, fuel efficiency skyrocketed, which not only saved airlines money but also reduced the environmental impact, and passenger comfort became a key consideration. Think about it, features like quieter cabins, better air filtration, and more advanced in-flight entertainment systems were all accelerated by this rivalry. Each company knew that if they relaxed for even a moment, the other would gain an advantage. This spirit of progress through challenge is the core of the Boeing-Airbus story. It wasn't about one being better than the other in an absolute sense. It was about two different philosophies of aircraft design driving each other to excellence. Boeing's approach was often evolutionary, building upon a proven, successful design. Airbus was often revolutionary, willing to take bold technological leaps. Both strategies proved incredibly successful. The result is a duopoly that has given us safer, more efficient, and more comfortable air travel than ever before. Every time you step onto a modern single-aisle jet, whether it's a 737 or an A320, you are experiencing the direct result of this 4-decade-long competition. It's a testament to how rivalry, when channeled constructively, can fuel incredible progress and benefit everyone. The sky we fly in today was shaped by this epic duel. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the competing skies. It's a fascinating story that continues to unfold. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chapter. We have so much more to explore. Fly safe and see you next time. Welcome back to our journey through the skies. Today, in Chapter 18, we're exploring something truly profound: the Boeing 737's economic and cultural impact. This isn't just about an airplane. It's about how one machine fundamentally reshaped our world, our economies, and our very understanding of connection. When you think of the 737, what comes to mind? Maybe the familiar shape, the roar of its engines, or a memory of a past trip. But let's zoom out and look at the sheer scale of its influence. Over its lifetime, the 737 family has carried billions, yes, billions with a bit of passengers. It has logged millions upon millions of flights, stitching together the fabric of our global society one takeoff and landing at a time. This aircraft is more than a workhorse. It's a constant, humming presence in the background of modern life. Before the 737, air travel was often a luxury, reserved for the wealthy or those on urgent business. Flying across the country or to another continent was a significant expense. But the 737, with its efficiency, reliability, and suitability for shorter routes, became the linchpin of a new era. It was the perfect tool for the burgeoning low-cost carrier model. Airlines like Southwest in the US and Ryanair in Europe built their entire empires on the back of this single aircraft type. They discovered that by using one model, they could streamline maintenance, training, and operations, driving down costs dramatically. This wasn't just a business innovation. It was a social revolution. Suddenly, the price of a plane ticket wasn't an insurmountable barrier. A college student could afford to fly home for the holidays. A family could take a vacation to a place they'd only ever seen in pictures. A small business owner could fly to a neighboring state to meet a client and be back the same day. The 737 democratized the sky. It turned air travel from an exclusive club into a form of mass transit, making the world feel smaller and more accessible than ever before. Think about it. The ability to see family, explore new cultures, or seize a business opportunity became available to hundreds of millions of new people. This affordability didn't just change leisure travel. It transformed the very nature of business. The day trip for a business meeting became a reality. Companies could expand their reach, building relationships face-to-face without the prohibitive cost and time commitment of older forms of travel. This spurred economic growth in countless ways. It fostered collaboration, accelerated deal-making, and allowed for the rapid expansion of regional and national markets. The 737 became a catalyst for commerce, a flying conduit for ideas and opportunities. Every time a 737 taxied to a gate, it wasn't just offloading passengers. It was injecting economic energy into its destination. And there's a quiet economic revolution hidden in every single flight. The 737 didn't just create jobs for pilots and flight attendants. It supports a massive ecosystem. Think of the ground crews, the maintenance technicians, the air traffic controllers, the caterers, the airport retail workers, and the tourism industry at the destination hotels, restaurants, tour guides. The ripple effect of a single, affordable flight is immense. Entire regional economies have been built and sustained by the steady stream of visitors brought in by fleets of 737s. It connected smaller cities to the global network, preventing them from being left behind and allowing them to thrive. Beyond the numbers and the economics, there's the cultural impact. The 737 changed how humanity connects. It allowed for cultural exchange on an unprecedented scale. People could experience different foods, languages, and traditions firsthand, not just through books or television. It fostered understanding and empathy by bringing people from different walks of life together. It helped create a shared global consciousness. The sky, once a vast and empty expanse, became a shared highway of dreams, ambitions, and reunions. Think of the countless stories that have unfolded within the cabin of a 737. The nervous excitement of a first-time flyer, the tearful goodbye at the departure gate, the joyful embrace at arrivals. The entrepreneur flying to pitch a life-changing idea. The scientist heading to a conference, the musician on their way to a first big gig. This aircraft has been the silent witness to the full spectrum of human experience. It has carried our hopes, our sorrows, our dreams, and our desire to connect with one another across vast distances. The 737 is more than just a successful piece of engineering. It's a cultural artifact, a symbol of the modern, interconnected world. Its legacy isn't just written in logbooks and financial reports. It's written in the family photos from a vacation made possible, in the success of a business that could finally expand, and in the simple, profound act of being able to see a loved one who lives an ocean away. It transformed the sky from a barrier into a bridge, and in doing so, it helped shape the world we live in today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of the 737's incredible legacy. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories from the world of aviation. We'd love to have you with us for the next chapter. Fly safe. Welcome back to our journey through aviation history. Today, we arrive at a milestone that feels both like an ending and a timeless continuation. Chapter 19. The Legacy of the 737. A living legend. Imagine a machine so successful, so ubiquitous, that it becomes part of the very fabric of air travel. That's the Boeing 737. With over 10,000 units built and delivered, it stands in a class of its own. No other jetliner in history has come close to this number. Think about that for a moment. Over 10,000 aircraft, each a complex marvel of engineering, connecting cities, countries, and continents. It's a staggering figure that speaks volumes about its reliability, efficiency, and enduring appeal. This isn't just a story about production numbers, it's a story about people. The 737 is an aircraft that has outlasted generations of the very engineers who designed it and the pilots who flew it. A young engineer who worked on the initial designs in the 1960s might now have grandchildren, flying on a brand new 737 MAX. A captain who earned their stripes on an early classic model might have mentored a first officer who now commands the latest generation. The 737 has been a constant thread running through the careers and lives of countless aviation professionals, a shared experience that connects decades of flight. It's this human element that elevates the 737 from a mere machine to something more profound. It's a monument. A monument to collaborative genius, to the countless hands that sketched the blueprints, riveted the fuselage, wired the avionics, and guided it through the skies. Each 737 is a testament to the power of a shared vision, a flying tribute to human ingenuity and our relentless desire to connect the world. When we look at a 737, we're not just seeing an airplane. We're seeing the culmination of decades of innovation and hard work. How many times have you been at an airport, waiting for a flight, and seen that unmistakable shape? The low-slung engines, the distinctively curved tail fin, the pointed nose. The silhouette of a 737 against a sunrise or a sunset is one of the most iconic images in modern travel. It is a sight that has been witnessed by billions of travelers at thousands of airports across the globe. It's a symbol of departure, of arrival, of adventure, and of homecoming. That timeless profile, etched against the backdrop of countless colorful skies, has become a universal shorthand for the magic of flight itself. As one chapter of its story closes and another begins, the 737 remains more than just metal, wires, and fuel. It's a whispering tribute to human perseverance. Think of the challenges it has overcome, the economic downturns, the shifts in technology, the intense competition. Through it all, the 737 adapted, evolved, and continued to fly. It embodies our ability to solve complex problems, to refine and improve, and to create something that lasts. It's a quiet reminder that with dedication and a pioneering spirit, we can build legacies that soar beyond the horizon and touch the lives of generations to come. The story of the 737 is far from over. Even now, new versions are being developed, and existing fleets continue to be the workhorses of airlines worldwide. Its legacy isn't confined to a museum. It's being written every single day at 35,000 feet in the skies above our heads. It's a living legend, and its journey is a powerful reflection of our own, a continuous flight towards the future, built on the foundations of a remarkable past. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the 737's incredible legacy. If you've enjoyed this journey, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories from the world of aviation. We'd love to have you on board for our next flight. Until then, fly safe. And so we arrive at the final chapter of our story, not an end, but a transition into an eternal flight. Picture this. High above the sleeping world, a familiar silhouette slices through the deep, velvety canvas of the night sky. It's the Boeing 737, a creation of metal, wire, and human ambition, now a timeless icon of the skies. Decades have passed since its first ascent, yet it continues to soar, a constant, reassuring presence in our ever-changing world. Think about it. How many stories has this aircraft been a part of? How many first hellos and last goodbyes has it witnessed from its cabin windows? Each journey is a thread woven into the grand tapestry of human connection. The 737 is more than just a machine. It's a vessel of dreams, a carrier of hopes, and a bridge between distant hearts. It has connected families, forged business deals, and opened up the world for adventurers and wanderers alike. Its legacy isn't just in the numbers, the thousands built, the millions of miles flown, but in the immeasurable moments of human experience it has made possible. Listen closely. Can you hear it? That soft, steady murmur of the jet engines. It's a sound that has become a lullaby for generations of travelers. For some, it's the hum of adventure, the promise of new horizons. For others, it's the soothing sound of heading home. This isn't the roar of a beast, but the steady heartbeat of progress, a rhythmic pulse that speaks of our relentless desire to push boundaries, to go further, to connect more deeply. It's the sound of engineering and ingenuity working in perfect harmony, a testament to what we can achieve when we dare to look to the skies. From its earliest days, the 737 was a workhorse, designed for reliability and efficiency. But it evolved into something more. With each new generation, the classics, the next generation, the Max, it adapted, grew stronger, and became smarter. It mirrored our own journey of growth and innovation. The engineers and designers who poured their lives into this aircraft weren't just building a plane. They were sculpting a piece of history. They were crafting a legacy that would outlive them. A machine that would become a symbol of our collective drive to overcome the constraints of geography. Imagine the view from the cockpit, a panorama of city lights twinkling like fallen stars, or the first blush of dawn painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink. This is the office of the pilots, the skilled navigators who guide this metal bird through the vast invisible highways of the sky. They are the modern-day shepherds of the air, entrusted with the precious cargo of human lives and aspirations. Their calm voices over the intercom, the quiet confidence in their hands on the controls, they are an integral part of this eternal flight. The human element that breathes life into the machine. And what about us, the passengers? We buckle our seatbelts, stow our luggage, and for a few hours, we place our trust in this incredible machine. We gaze out the window at a world made miniature, a perspective that reminds us of both our smallness and our capacity for greatness. We watch clouds drift by like floating islands and marvel at the sheer beauty of our planet from a vantage point our ancestors could only dream of. The 737 doesn't just transport our bodies. It elevates our spirits, giving us a moment of reflection, a pause in our busy lives to simply be suspended between earth and sky. The story of the 737 is also a story of resilience. It has faced challenges, weathered storms, and undergone scrutiny. Yet through it all, it has endured. It has learned, adapted, and returned to the skies, stronger and safer than before. This resilience is a powerful reminder that progress is not a straight line. It involves setbacks and corrections, learning and improvement. The ongoing flight of the 737 is a symbol of our ability to face adversity, to learn from our mistakes, and to continue moving forward with renewed purpose and determination. Think of the countless innovations that found their way into the 737 over the years. The glass cockpits that replaced analog dials. The winglets that sliced through the air with greater efficiency, the quieter, more fuel-efficient engines. Each improvement was a small step, but together, they represent a giant leap in aviation technology. The 737 became a platform for progress, a flying laboratory where new ideas were tested and proven, ultimately benefiting the entire aviation industry. Its influence extends far beyond its own fleet, shaping the way all modern aircraft are designed and operated. This eternal flight is not just a poetic idea, it's a literal reality. Right now, as you watch this, hundreds of Boeing 737s are airborne around the globe. They are crossing oceans, traversing continents, and connecting cities large and small. They are carrying business travelers to crucial meetings, families on long-awaited vacations, and loved ones to reunions. Each flight is a new verse in an epic poem that is constantly being written. A story of movement, connection, and shared human experience. The sun never truly sets on the 737 fleet. As one part of the world darkens, another awakens, and the flight continues. We must remember that even steel and wings, aluminum and composites, can carry the weight of our dreams. This aircraft is a physical manifestation of an intangible human desire, the dream of flight, the dream of exploration, the dream of bringing people together. It's a reminder that our greatest achievements begin as simple ideas, as sparks of imagination. The 737 began as a sketch on a napkin, a bold proposal to create a short-haul jet that could serve smaller airports. From that humble seed grew a giant of the skies, an aircraft that democratized air travel and changed the world. As we bring our journey to a close, the night sky begins to fade. The deep indigo softens to a gentle lavender, heralding the arrival of a new day. But our story doesn't land. It doesn't come to a halt on a runway. Instead, it rests gently, still in flight, suspended in the vastness of the sky. The Boeing 737 continues its eternal journey, a silent, graceful testament to human ingenuity and the enduring power of our dreams. It soars on, not just as an aircraft, but as an idea, the idea that no distance is too great, and no sky is too vast for the reach of the human spirit. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the history and legacy of the Boeing 737. If you've enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the marvels of engineering and the stories they tell. Fly safe and keep looking up.